Hi guys, welcome back to CJ's Keto Kitchen and happy holidays. Today we are going to be making a classic Christmas cookie, and that is iced gingerbread cookies. So come along with me and let's get started. It's recipes like this that show you that you can still make classic holiday flavors in the ketogenic fashion. And tonight, these iced gingerbread cookies are what I'm going to be making, but they're going to be ketogenic. And I'm actually referencing a recipe from this month's Keto Krate. And that is what I'm going to be using tonight. So come along with me and let's get started. So for this recipe, you are going to want to preheat your oven to 325 degrees. So the first thing that we need to do for our iced gingerbread cookies is we need to start sifting our dry ingredients into a medium-sized bowl. You don't have to sift if you don't want to. I just like the added texture that sifting provides here for this recipe. So I just have my sifter, and I'm going to begin with my flours. So I need 2 cups of almond flour. I also want 1/4 cup of coconut flour. I'm going to put in 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and I'm going to do it right here with my flours so that when I sift, my leavener will go through all of my flours at the same time and not be in chunks or patches. So that's 1/2 teaspoon. I'm also going to add my spices at this point to get that gingerbread feel, taste, and smell. So the spices that I'm going to be using tonight are ground ginger, ground nutmeg, cloves, and cinnamon. I'm going to start with the cinnamon, and I'm going to be putting the most of it in. And I want 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And you can add these to your liking depending on the seasonings that you enjoy, but these are traditional for gingerbread. I'm going to do about 1/2 teaspoon of ginger. After all, it is gingerbread. I'm going to be doing 1/4 teaspoon of the nutmeg and about 1/2 of that quarter, so about 1/8 teaspoon of the cloves, simply because cloves are quite strong and powerful. And if you put too many cloves into your recipe, it can have a numbing effect. Cloves are actually part of what dentists used to use centuries ago to numb your teeth for extractions before they had any kind of lidocaine. So you definitely don't want to use too much cloves. So my final dry ingredient, before I start sifting everything into our bowl, is I want about 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum. And this is just going to aid the elasticity of our cookie dough and helping everything stay together and stay moist. And I just find my xanthan gum, it comes in little packets like this, just on your grocery store shelves in the baking aisle. It's pretty accessible nowadays. So once again, that's 1/4 teaspoon. So I'm just going to go ahead and sift this into my bowl. See that there are still little lumps of almond flour and such. So what I will usually do at that point is I will just take a spoon and scrape it. And that just happens a little bit more quickly than using the little rod here and the rest of the lumps. You can actually see a little piece of almond shell there. So sometimes it's beneficial to sift your ingredients just for things like that, for quality control. So now we are going to cream or mix together our butters and our brown sugar alternative. So I have 1.5 sticks of butter. That is about 12 tablespoons of butter, and it is softened. I'm going to add about 3/4 cup of brown sugar alternative. And in this case, I'm using Sucrin Gold. The next ingredient that I'm going to add is about a tablespoon of maple syrup. I'm using CHOCZERO here. That was what was recommended in the Keto Krate. And we have purchased and do enjoy CHOCZERO products, and their maple syrup is really good. It doesn't have a lot of the sugar alcohols that a lot of sugar-free maple syrup just on the shelf provide. So I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon of the CHOCZERO maple syrup. I'm just going to cream everything together with my hand mixer. And we are just looking for this to be light and fluffy. Okay, so there are our creamed sugar and butter and maple syrup. Now I'm going to put the creamed mixture into our dry mixture, and I'm also going to mix that around a little bit until our dough forms. I have here about a tablespoon of unsweetened almond milk, and I'm just going to add that as needed if I see that it's a bit too dry. And I'm just going to start mixing this on low. So I'm going to add now our tablespoon of almond milk just to assist in our dough coming together. Okay, we're not going to overwork our dough. I'm just going to take my spatula and just pull everything together, and you'll see that our dough is sticking together nicely, and that is what we want. Now we are going to chill this dough before we make it into our cookies for a half hour in the refrigerator. So I'm going to put this dough ball in some cling wrap, and I'm going to place it into the refrigerator for a half hour. Okay, there is our lovely gingerbread dough in a nice beautiful ball. And I'm going to put my cling wrap around it, and we are going to let this rest in our refrigerator for a half hour. So our dough has chilled for 30 minutes, and I have just placed mine in a bowl because I'm going to scoop mine into cookies. Now if you wanted to try and roll this out and use cookie cutters, you could. I tried to do that. It was somewhat successful. I'm not the greatest roller, cookie cutter kind of person, so that's completely up to you. But I like mine just round. It's very old-fashioned. In fact, I saw this exact same style of cookie yesterday when I was in Costco. Of course, not the ketogenic version, but it was just a simple round cookie with drizzle on it. So I'm going to go ahead and start balling these out. And I'm just using my cookie baller, and then I'm going to flatten them down a bit. And I'm just going to get as many as I can here on my cookie sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and go with 16 for my first batch. And as I stated earlier, I'm going to flatten these out a bit, just because I want them to be a little flatter for the icing. But you can keep yours however you'd like. These cookies don't spread a great deal, so you don't have to worry about them being fairly close together. They stay fairly compact, which is great. But I just want, a little bit of a flatter surface for when we ice them later. And these cookies stayed very moist. Very soft. They didn't crumble after several days. I made a test batch, and we ate off of them for several days, and I just left them out on the counter and wrapped up in a container. And once again, these don't have eggs in them, so you don't have to worry about leaving them out. But they stayed soft for the amount of days that we had them out, which was really nice. And they are very nice and spicy and flavorful, so they go great with a cup of coffee. Of course, if you like milk and cookies, you could do almond milk or macadamia nut milk. Both of those are very good, and CJ and I both enjoy those as well. These would be a wonderful cookie to leave out for Santa, especially if Santa is watching his weight this year. And I have mine, of course, on a silicone-lined baking tray. I definitely recommend using either silicone or parchment paper in order to free your cookies easily when they're done baking. So I'm going to bake these at 325 degrees, and I'm going to start out with 10 minutes and see how they are at 10 minutes. I might go a bit longer, but I'm going to start with 10 at 325 degrees. Okay, I let mine go for 12 minutes. Now I'm going to let them sit, and you need to let these sit on the cookie sheet undisturbed until they are thoroughly cool. You can see I tested here, and they're very soft on the inside, which is good. They're fully cooked, but they're very moist. So if you try and remove these from the cookie sheet before they're completely cool, you'll have some breaking, and you don't want that. Now we need to make the icing for the iced part of our gingerbread cookies. So that's what I'm going to do now. So this is a very simple keto icing. All that it requires is erythritol in the powdered form. So basically like confectioner's sugar would be if you were using a sugar-filled product. And some half and half. You could use heavy cream if you wanted to. You could use almond milk, whatever you like. You just need something in order to make it a more spreadable consistency. And I'm just going to start by adding some spoonfuls here. And what's nice about this is you can thicken or thin it by adding either more of your thinner, and if you find that it's too thin to be the consistency you want for icing, then you just add a little bit more of your powdered sweetener. So I'm just going to start adding just a little bit and stir it around and see what consistency we get. And that's just a little bit too thin. So I went ahead and added one more spoonful of our powdered erythritol just to get it to about the consistency that I want. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the icing that we just made, and I'm going to just put it into a Ziploc bag so that I can make a little disposable piping bag. Now you could put some extract in here if you wanted some vanilla extract or something like that, but I want to maintain the true level of gingerbread spiciness that the cookies already have, so I've opted not to do anything to my icing. So I'm just going to twist my bag like so, and I'm going to cut a very small hole at the top with my scissors, because I want this to be pretty narrow. And then you just start icing, and you can freeform it. You can make little swirls. You could do some crisscrosses. You could do squiggles. You could do little dots, whatever you want to do. Sky's the limit for icing your cookies. Have fun. Be a kid again. So there they are. Those are our iced gingerbread cookies. Ready? Happy holidays, everyone. It's time for some classic holiday baking. These are iced gingerbread cookies, and they are keto. CJ.
Hi.
It's cookie time.
I see.
It is Christmas cookie time.
Yep.
These are iced gingerbread cookies.
Yep. They're good. They taste like gingerbread. To me, the icing is a nice touch because you didn't have that for the test batch.
No, I didn't. And it will harden as it dries.
That's fine, like it is. These are actually a little firmer. Probably because
I smashed them down.
Smashed them down.
Yeah.
They're not hard though.
No, and they shouldn't get hard.
They feel like they do have a little bit more crunch.
Oh, good.
As much as you can have crunch
right. From non-gluten foods.
Right. Yeah, they're good. Did a nice job decorating. I'm showing you this.
Oh, thank you.
You did a nice job.
My freeform
decorating.
It looks like some kind of 1960s space design or something.
Okay. Sure.
NASA, call me.
Yes, take her back to her ship. They're good, and I think people will like them.
And they are quite low carb. These are going to be like around a carb a cookie, so.
Okay. Good job, baby. Thanks for all the hard work.
So, delicious, seasonal. You don't need to feel left out.
Good job.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us again tonight, you guys. We hope that you enjoy the cookies. I know that we definitely are. They're very delicious, very easy, and they keep for a long time, actually out on your counter because there's no eggs. We hope that you'll come back and see us again next week and all the other times that we upload new content onto YouTube, and that is twice a week, every week. On Wednesdays, we have Keto Conversations, and that's where we get together and talk about different lifestyle topics. Sometimes it's food unboxing, sometimes it's grocery hauls, it's what we eat, and sometimes we just have a good old-fashioned conversation about the keto lifestyle. Then our new recipes go up every Sunday, and sometimes it's sweet and sometimes it's savory. So definitely hit the bell so you know when that happens. If you need any information for this recipe, other seasonal favorites that we have made through the years on this lifestyle, all of that is on our blog, and that is CJsKetoKitchen.com. And there you will find ingredients, macros, printable recipes, tips and tricks, and other thoughts that we had while making this recipe and other recipes that we have made. We are also on social media, and we would love to have you join us there. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, and we're dabbling a little bit in TikTok. And that is CJ's Keto Kitchen on all of those platforms. We hope that you will come back and see us again, and until that time, be safe and be well.